Good afternoon. It is an honor to be with you all here today. This is a tremendous event. I am proud that it is in my hometown. I'm humbled to take part. I am thrilled to introduce our next speaker. But before I do, I hope you will all humor me by allowing me to read you some statistics. Ireland, 1%. Europe West, including Belgium, France, Germany, Switzerland, 2%. Italy, Greece, 3%. Scandinavia, 3%. Great Britain, 41%. Have you got an idea yet? What story these numbers tell? What group they represent? Let me give you a few more. Cameroon, Congo, 15%. Benin, Togo, 15%. Nigeria, 4%. Mali, 3%. Senegal, 2%. How about now? These numbers are not the immigrant population demographics of an in-the-world community. These numbers are the immigrant population demographics of my in-the-blood community. These are my ancestry DNA results. I'd been trying to figure out how to share them and when and to what purpose for a while. Now seemed like exactly the right time. I'm a Black girl born and raised in Nashville. I teach now at Fisk, a proud and storied HBCU. I am also, as you all heard, related to a whole heap of white people. 53% of this Black body standing before you is from Europe. And that number represents nearly every one of the immigrants to whom I am related who came to this country voluntarily. The rest, the African part of this American, that part was forced migration. We are all in this room in the South at this particular conference, so we are all woke. We all know that hard story. There were whispers and stories on both my mother and father's sides, as in so many American families, that we might have some American Indian ancestors. Science has dispelled that part of my family's mythology. I stand before you a Black American woman, 100% of immigrant stock. Because yeah, all those white guys that took advantage of my Black ancestresses 4 and 5 and 6 generations ago, they were immigrants too. But white men in places of power and privilege can have short memories when it comes to inconvenient truths like that. Let's move here, displace and destroy the lives that dared live and thrive here before us, drag some folks across the ocean against their will to build us our ivory towers and our white houses. Spend 240 years, that's how long they've been declaring independence, forgetting it was ever any other way. And then, build a wall. Y'all, I am not here for that mess. I am in love with in-between spaces, with hybridity, with travel and color and all things othered and richly flavored. I think I got it from my mama and my mama Mimi. My mother and I wrote a healthy soul food cookbook that came out last year. We were inspired in no small part by my mentor, Bryant Terry, a Black vegan cookbook author with a Chinese wife and a love of creating shared spaces and conversations. We dedicated the cookbook to my mother's best friend, my Japanese godmother. She is the daughter of immigrants and one of the first women to teach me to love food. In France, in Tokyo, in the dim sum houses of Chinatown in New York City, these two women, my mother and godmother, taught me to claim everything that made sense to me to love in every part of life, but especially and most joyfully through food. I taught public high school in the Mississippi Delta, and about the only place where you will ever see white and Black people eating in the same room in the Mississippi Delta is the Mexican restaurant or the Chinese buffet. I say the because in most Delta towns, there is one of each, but rarely more. These are new American cuisines. I never felt more sheltered or more uplifted in the midst of those train track divided communities than I did in my favorite booth at La Terraza in Greenwood. There is guacamole in my cookbook because I felt a need to honor that truth. It is my soul's food. Immigrant food kept me sane and safe in a world that small-minded people made and make fearful. Believe it or not, Mississippi is where I first met Eddie Huang. After I finished teaching in the Delta, I moved to Oxford, Mississippi to get my MFA in creative writing. I started writing the cookbook during my first year of grad school in a creative nonfiction seminar. During the spring of that academic year, Eddie came to Oxford Conference of the Book and sat down with John T. Edge for a discussion entitled Identity Politics in Guabao. I didn't know anything more about Eddie then, but I already loved identity politics and Guabao. It was clear I had to find my way to this event. I went. I bought the book. I was inspired. I was captivated. Eddie is a force of nature. The more I learn about him, the more work I realize I need to do, but I'll never catch up. This is a man who, by the age of 26, had worked for the Innocence Project, received a legal degree, gone corporate, ditched corporate, taken up stand-up comedy, and become a pot dealer. He's got every kind of hustle. He has been a fashion designer, a television host, and a restaurateur. His first book has been turned into a TV show. His identity, the identity he has created, inspires the imagination. He is unapologetically himself. This DC-born son of Taiwanese immigrants is a glorious amalgam of pork buns and hip-hop, of brazen self-expression and an earnest commitment to justice. His contributions to the world of food go so far past the food. He is creating and cultivating conversations about what this country has and hasn't done for the colored and the othered in its care. He is asking hard questions, and he is using his power to remind people of what he knows, what many of us know here today. And we must be allowed to preserve what's precious of what came before, where we came from before, and we must be allowed to feel welcome to our future. Now it is time for the man himself to share the good word with you himself. Without further ado, please help me invite Eddie Huang to the stage.